Welcome back to the Anti-Stasis Handbook. My name is Moonchild of Dude No Way, and this series discusses the darkness subclasses and how to shut them down. One of the most important things when considering how to counter stasis is to pick a subclass with the right tools for the job. There are a lot of good options for this in the light-based subclasses, and today I'm going to cover a few for each class so that no matter what you play, you have something you can fall back on to feel strong on the battlefield and put stasis users in their place. On the Hunter, I recommend running either Top Tree Gunslinger for the explosive knife or Middle Tree Arc Strider because of the power it has to counter other supers. Top Tree Gunslinger is an interesting one and will require you to play a certain way to really make the most of it. Throwing an explosive knife on the ground and baiting a target into it will only take about half their life away. So what do we do to make it better? We use one of the 120 RPM hand cannons that hit like a goddamn truck. So you throw your knife on the ground, and when the Ice Gorilla Stasis Titan comes aping around the corner, you shoot him in the head right as the knife explodes and it instantly deletes them. They won't have any chance to fight you at all. If you do it right, it happens before they can even react, and anyone you pull this move out on will definitely be calling bullshit from their side of the screen. The exotic for this build is the Ophidius Spathe, which gives a second charge to your knife, allowing you to pull this off twice as often. I also think Sturm is a fantastic combination with this build, and Drang just got a remake this season to pair with it. Sturm hits stupid hard on its own, but getting that Drang kill supercharges Sturm, and if you combine that with high energy fire from the Charged with Light mods, you can walk around one-tapping people, and then switch back to the knife strategy when Sturm isn't charged. Middle Tree Arc Strider is strong as well, because when you cast the super, your staff deflects during the super animation, and then you can continue to deflect projectiles the whole time it's active. This isn't limited to bullets. You can deflect back the stasis orbs from the Warlock super. They'll literally bounce off you and freeze the Warlock or his buddies instead, which is hilarious when you pull it off. It deflects the Warlock melee that insta-freezes, the new Hunter commas get sent flying back toward the dude who threw them. Anything they chuck at you, you can chuck back at them, and it's hella satisfying. This subclass also has skip grenades, which you can use to force your enemy to move out of cover or die. A lot of times this will put them directly into your line of fire, but the intelligent stasis user is going to escape by creating an ice wall between you and them, which essentially wastes the freezing potential of their ability. Deflecting is enough for this to get a mention on its own, but when you consider that the grenade can be buffed by exotics like Shinobu's Vow, you now have a grenade ability engine that's forcing the stasis user into multiple uncomfortable engagements. And especially with these subclasses, while they're new, a lot of people are gonna panic and not know how to react. Titans are going to use their melee charge just for the movement so that they can get away from the grenade, which again, takes away its ability to freeze or shatter you. The exotic I most enjoy with this build though is the Raiju's Harness, because it lets you cancel Arc Staff early and keep like 25% of it. In my opinion, this exotic is perfect, because the amount of time it gives you is usually enough to 1v1 another super and then deactivate it before you hit the 0 super back window. Keeping a quarter of your super leads to 2, sometimes 3 additional supers a game if you're playing well. You can deflect the Warlock's freezing orbs, you can deflect Silence and Squall, and if anyone shoots you, even once, and you deflect it, any approaching Behemoth Titan is going to get one shot. I love a good duel, and this setup lets you go toe-to-toe with just about anything in the game. If you haven't tried it out, you definitely should. For Warlocks, I recommend Top Tree Dawnblade, as flying high in the sky basically negates all of the effects of stasis. You're extremely hard to hit with the Shadebinder melee because they have no tracking, and your in-air maneuverability allows you to quickly get out of the way. Not to mention you're more than likely going to be outside its range. The Hunter double melee that freezes is out of the picture. There's no way in hell they hit you with both. 10 out of 10 times they miss at least once. Grenades can't hit you in the sky. The Warlock aspect Ice Flare bolts that chains a freezing line across the ground every time they shatter a frozen target can't get you when you're up in the air. You can't throw a Duskfield grenade into the sky, and what good is a wall made of ice when you're 5 stories up and it's the size of a small bus? And Dawnblade as a super absolutely dump trucks all of the stasis supers in a 1v1 engagement. Think about the silence part of Silence and Squall, that first comma. You know how incredibly difficult it's going to be to hit you while you're in the air with that? And you can see the Hunter winding it up, giving you ample opportunity to dodge out of the way. Shadebinder can't hit you worth a damn when you Icarus dash, which basically nullifies them entirely because the heavy attack no longer deals damage to targets who aren't frozen. And the poor Behemoth Titan, man. If he sees a Dawnblade, he better just turn tail and run. There's literally 0 times a Behemoth Titan wins that fight unless you're in a space you shouldn't be, aka anywhere that inhibits your use of vertical space. Top Tree Dawnblade is a direct counter to stasis in general if you play it right. You don't allow yourself to be in situations where you could get hit by their abilities at all. It was and still is one of the best and most elegantly made subclasses in the game. Exotics I recommend for this build are the Starfire Protocol, because having a second grenade charge means you can take advantage of the huge in-air accuracy bump from Heat Rises. Heat Rises is crucial to making this whole playstyle work, negating much of the bloom to our accuracy cone when jumping. You want to have this up as often as you can, so I recommend speccing your stats into Discipline and then using mods like Bomber and the Charged with Light mod Firepower to get your time without Heat Rises to as little as possible. My second recommendation for Warlocks is Top Tree Nova Bomb, specifically with Blink. The reason this is good is pretty much the same as the Hunter's Middle Tree Arc Strider. Axion bolts function basically the same way skip grenades do. You throw them at a target behind cover and force them to make a hard choice. This subclass allows you to charge up your grenade and make it even stronger, and even though it still won't one-shot opponents even when it's charged, it does chunk a hefty amount of damage out of their life. If they've been headshot by a 140 RPM hand cannon, that Axion bolt is going to be a life or death decision, and Titans are going to waste their melee to get away from it, I promise. Being able to push a target out from behind cover is huge. It doesn't matter if the enemy has a stasis subclass on when they're stuck running away all the time. Anytime they're running is time they're not freezing you, which is perfect. The other thing that makes this subclass amazing is Blink. Being able to teleport at will is insanely powerful to counter a lot of the abilities that stasis has. You can teleport right through a Shadebinder Freeze Orb, right past the comma of a Silence and Squall super, the Shadebinder Light Attack, forget about it, you're already out of there, and they're too goddamn slow to keep up. You can blink out of Duskfield grenades, break the tracking on a Cold Snap grenade, or a Warlock's Ice Flare bolt aspect. The level of movement is hard to fight against, and if you're utilizing Blink correctly, a lot of stasis users are going to waste their abilities trying to hit you. The super is also a direct counter to any super in the game, aside from a guarding Arc Staff. Slova Bomb one-hits everything, and if it didn't one-hit with the Nova itself, the additional Axion bolts are going to clean up anything nearby. To live through that, they'd have to run away, fast and far. You sensing a theme here? Yeah, this setup is kind of a fearmonger build. They either run from you or they die. It's fun, and it's effective. Exotics I would recommend for the Warlock are first and foremost the Controverse Hold Gauntlets, which give you the means to start an ability engine because they return a random amount of grenade energy back when your charged grenades deal damage. That means if your target chooses to take that Axion bolt to the face, not only do they most likely die, but they also restore your grenade energy to let you do it to them more. There's insane synergy here. Astrocyte Verse is another 200 IQ play when you consider how much better it makes using Blink with an aggressive playstyle. You're not only going to be able to blink more often, which will help you get out of sticky situations where some stasis dude is trying to freeze you, but your radar stays up and your weapon's ready instantly after a blink. Which means if you're quick enough, you can blink directly up as an enemy approaches you, then immediately aim down and shotgun them in the top of the head. To me, it feels like Link from Zelda when he'd do that move where he'd drop down on dude's head with the sword. Radar staying up is icing on the cake here, and blinking around the battlefield is gonna save your life a lot of times. For Titans, one build that's actually surprisingly good is Top Tree Striker with the Flashbang Grenade. I know, right? Top Tree Striker. I haven't heard that name in 84 years. But flashbangs are really annoying to be spammed with, and this subclass gives you a second grenade charge for free. If a target is around the corner and you hit them with a blinding grenade, you know you can safely push in and shotgun them to death because not only can they not see you on their radar, they can't see you. If they're in the main explosion of the grenade, you can legit just walk up on the dude if you're fast enough, and they can't freeze what they can't see. You want to be using your shoulder charge not to kill people, but as a buff to your movement neutral game. Being able to utilize that to quickly and painlessly get out of the way of anything stasis being thrown at you is going to come in clutch. Using it to try and get kills is going to end up with you being frozen and probably dead, so take it for what it is and use it to get out of dodge. The other thing that makes this subclass a top pick for me is the fact that the super deals more damage the higher you are in the air. That means that if an enemy roaming super is coming your way, all you need to do to win the fight is jump off of something elevated before you activate it. If you're accurate, they're gonna get demolished and probably be salty about being one hit. It can feel like someone's cheating if you don't know what just happened. Shadebinders especially have no way of getting away from you while you descend in the smash animation. They're legit sitting ducks, but you have to catch them by surprise or you'll be frozen in midair. Behemoths are gonna be a lot harder to duel, so pick your slams carefully. Against Silence and Squall, it's probably better if you just shoot the hunter with your primary. They got a long animation and they'll probably die. The exotic I recommend for this is the Heart of Inmost Light, because it gives you a nice ability engine to jumpstart your cooldowns whenever you need to. And with a second grenade charge inherently from the subclass, you're gonna have a flashbang grenade for most of the engagements every match. And whenever you don't, simply pop your barricade and watch it fill up nice and speedy. Bottom Tree Sentinel, in my opinion, is A tier for countering stasis, because it gives you multiple ways to suppress targets in PvP. The grenade does it, the shoulder charge does it, and you know what people can't do when they're suppressed? Use any abilities. They get hit by that, and it's good game for anything stasis they can possibly do. They can't even double jump. The suppressor grenade is the way I start all of the engagements. I fight them when they can't do anything fun against me. It gives you the upper hand because their only real option is to run away, because if they stand and fight, they're asking to get picked. Taking away the full suite of their abilities is very satisfying. They get their guns, and that's it. So if they're crutching hard on freeze mechanics, their life just got a whole lot harder. Even if it's just my teammates fighting someone, I'll throw a suppressor in the mix and see if any numbers pop up. If I get the assist, I know that my teammate might not have won that fight if it wasn't for me, because I made it so the guy he was fighting had very little options to counter. This playstyle is made better by the subclass perk that gives you grenade energy back when it kills someone. Every little bit helps. The faster you can get that back up, the faster you can ruin someone's day with it. The shoulder charge gives you another way to suppress a target, and lately, I've been using it to hunt supers. When I hear a roaming super pop, I hold W until I find them, and then I try and catch them from the side so I can shoulder charge them. If you do it right, you can take them out of super, disorient them with the perk from the subclass, and then clean them up with a shotgun. It doesn't always work, because melee targeting in Destiny is historically kinda sketchy, but when it does, it feels so good. You know they've been waiting that whole game for the super. Shutting down a super for the cost of a melee charge is insanely good, and it can't be overlooked. This build is really a thief of joy, because it takes everything fun the enemy can do away from them. Armamentarium may seem like the obvious choice for the exotic here, but my pick, again, is going to be the Heart of Inmost Light. It lets you use your barricade to get fast regen on the suppressing abilities. If you stack Discipline and combine this with mods like Bomber, you're gonna wind up with a way to suppress far more often than not. We talked about stacking Resilience for more health after breaking out of being frozen in part 1 of this series. Link to that will be in the description and at the very end of the video, but if you paid attention and pushed your Resilience to 9, you're gonna be able to activate Heart of Inmost Light with your barricade very often. This build, in terms of ability usage, and especially when combined with the exotic shotgun tractor cannon, is the most direct way to counter stasis in my opinion. You have multiple tools to suppress the enemy, and those tools recharge incredibly fast. The synergy it has is top tier when you're talking about combating the darkness subclasses, because the aspect and fragment system is frankly better game design than the 4 perk nodes we've had since the launch of D2. And because of that, we need to exploit every advantage we possibly can to get the win. The more in-depth combinations we can come up with, the better chances we'll have. Thanks for watching. I am Moonchild of Dude No Way, and I will see you in the next video.